Legislative Bill 646. First of all, Senator, there are E&R amendments.
Senator Greco for a motion.
Mr. President, I move that the E&R amendments to LB 646 be adopted.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. They are adopted.
Mr. President, Senator Storer would move to bracket the bill with MO 280.
Senator Storer, you are recognized to open on your bracket motion.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good evening. It has been a big question as to whether or not we would get to this point in the evening. So I'm going to talk for a bit just on this bill, kind of where we started, where we are. Ultimately, I plan on pulling my motion, but I'm going to take my introduction time here. So, as many of you remember, we had a very lively discussion. It's, been 2 months ago now, feels like, on the brand bill. I hope a lot of you actually learned a little bit more about the brand laws in the state of Nebraska, which protect the integrity of our #1 cash commodity in this state, which would be the livestock industry. This process has been frustrating, to say the least, and I will tell you that I did not know that this was going to be on the agenda, as apparently many others involved did not know, until about 8:30 last night. At that point, there was no agreement with Senator Ibaugh, as was promised in the vote on general file. So I am unclear how we got to the point of it being on the agenda, but here we are. So we had, 12 hours now? Well, 24 from the time we found it on the agenda to prepare for today and decide what we could do to continue to protect the livestock industry in the great state of Nebraska. I have said from the beginning that my #1 priority was to protect the integrity of the livestock inspection system. #1 priority. This bill is originally introduced, and I will tell you, I have a list here somewhere, but I think there's now been about 7 different amendments, a couple that were never filed but were distributed. And so this has been a little bit difficult for all of us to follow. The original bill would have exempted the feedlot industry completely. They would have paid nothing, and they would have, in essence, been left alone, not subject to the brand laws in the brand inspection area. That's where we started. I told my colleagues as soon as this bill was introduced, and I told Senator Ibaugh that I would fight like hell, that was not acceptable, and ultimately that was gutting the brand inspection system. Where we have come in the last technically 12 hours, we've been in this building now. Senator Jacobson has an amendment that he will be offering, and I will let him speak to that. But we have worked hard. I have worked hard with Senator Jacobson to get to a point that we are standing by our commitment that there will not be a breach in the integrity of the Nebraska livestock inspection system. I am confident that that remains true in the amendment that Senator Jacobson will be offering. Now, I don't love the amendment. I don't love it because it potentially could cost my cow-calf producers a little more than what they're paying now, and that will be at the discretion of the brand committee. We're not mandating that here in this amendment, but they will have the authority to make that decision as they need to. So I don't love that. I will tell you that the feedlots that were pushing hard for this aren't very happy either. I haven't spoken to them personally, but I can guarantee you they're not very happy either. Because they're not exempt. There is no cap in this amendment on their RFL fees, and they will continue to have meaningful skin in the game in the financial sustainability of the Nebraska Brand Committee. So I will say this one more time. This industry is the core, the foundation, certainly of my district, but I believe of the state of Nebraska. If I have learned anything in the few months that I have been here, it is that we need to continue to educate people on what we do. It's not Yellowstone. It's not a made-for-TV movie. It is the backbone of the economy of this state. And for the hardworking men and women who have been following the progression of this bill, I want to say thank you for your support, for your encouragement, for your emails, for your phone calls, because I think the other 48 members in this body have heard you. And I hope that that has opened up the opportunity for additional interest and education in our industry. So with that, Senator Jacobson, would you yield to a couple questions?
Senator Jacobson, would you yield?
Yes, I would.
Senator Jacobson, I know you're going to have some time to open on your amendment, and we won't let you get into the specific details, but I do want to be on the record with there was some concerns. Part of the amendment you'll be offering makes a change in the fees, and that's the part I don't like. And there was some concerns about the constitutionality of that based on a lawsuit that went before the Nebraska Supreme Court, I believe 3 years ago. I should have written down the year. You and I talked a little bit about that off the mic, and I would just like you to share your thoughts and comments regarding that concern.
Yeah, I'll quickly do this. I know it's a late hour and we want to get this bill done, and I think we've worked pretty much the wrinkles out of it. But let me just say that as it relates to the fees, I think historically we need to keep in mind that the statutes lay out most of what these fees are going to be, the max that they can be, how this all works. So the fact that the legislature is making a change in the statutes would allow the flexibility to do exactly what we're doing by coming in, reducing RFL fees, cutting those in half, and that would be permissible because we're doing it through the statutes. And so that's what really makes the difference from what would have happened in the past.
Okay, thank you, Senator Jacobson. And again, I know you'll have some time to explain a bit more detail on your amendment, but I do appreciate, I want to thank Senator Jacobson for his hard work on this as well. Where we started here was, again, not acceptable to either one of us, not even close. And it is very important that to both of us, that we are protecting the livestock producers in our district. And we have come a long way with this. Again, we started pretty much at a train wreck, in my opinion, with a bill that was going to, in essence, put a gaping hole in the inspection system in the state of Nebraska. I will tell you, we have preserved the integrity of that inspection system, as I promised, and as I told you I would fight for. And again, you know, we've reached a place that I think we probably need to move forward and realize nobody's happy, but integrity has been maintained. And with that, I will yield the rest of my time. I would also ask to pull MO 280.
Without objection, so ordered. Mr. Clerk.
Mr. President, I have floor amendment 95 from Senator Eybaugh with the note you wish to withdraw it.
So ordered.
Next, I have AM 1342 by Senator Ibaugh with the note that you wish to withdraw it.
So ordered.
Mr. President, I have Amendment 1558 by Senator Jacobson.
Senator Jacobson, you're recognized to open on your amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll be as brief as possible. I know everyone would like to get out of here tonight. First, I want to say that many of you probably know I originally was a co-sponsor of the bill. I was a co-sponsor because I knew, as Senator Ibaugh did, that something needed to be done to really bring the brand process, particularly the fees, more in line with where the world is. And my goal was to try to negotiate the bill. I ultimately came off the bill because I felt we weren't getting where I needed to be. To Senator Ibaugh's credit, she was willing to sit down and negotiate with Senator Storer and I, and she's put a tremendous amount of time into 646. And we wouldn't be where we are if she hadn't spent that time, worked with constituents, worked with those that are involved in the industry. And to Senator Storer for listening to her constituents and understanding what their concerns were. A lot of this comes down to the beef industry is Nebraska's biggest industry from a livestock standpoint and from an agricultural standpoint. It's very important to this state. And because of that, we wanted to make sure that with all the different factions in the industry and the way the state was split with the brand inspection area, that everyone was treated fairly. And that's a challenge at times. So where we got to with this was that the feed yards were looking predominantly, the registered feed yards were looking for lower fees. I think Senator Storer, as she outlined, in my standpoint, and for that matter, Senator Ibaugh's standpoint, is we want to keep the integrity of the brand inspection. There's probably some work that still needs to be done after this, but I will tell you that we believe we reached a good compromise and one that I think will make a difference in the industry and will allow us to keep moving forward. So the bill, or the amendment, is very simple. We went back to a white copy amendment, so we're not changing any of the statutes. The only changes we're making are the changes that are in this amendment. So we're starting from scratch, these changes. Highlights, number one, we do set the maximum fee that the brand committee can charge. Currently the maximum is $1.10, they're charging $1. We've given the latitude, not knowing what the impact of this will be, to go up to $1.50 per head. Number two, we decided to exempt true dairies from the bill and allowed them, so cattle shipped from a qualified dairy would be exempt from inspection. And number three, it cuts the RFL fees to 50 cents initially. They currently would be at $1. Nothing else really changes in what's in the statutes today, except one other minor change that I believe Senator Storer's got a floor amendment that would clean it up. Otherwise, that's what we're doing, folks. A lot of time has been put into this. I compliment Senator Ibaugh for all the work she did beforehand to cut to where she was. Senator Storer for bringing the concerns that she saw with her constituents, and for both of them working together to come up with a good compromise that we could bring to the floor and get this issue off the legislative floor. So I hope that we got to the point to where everybody's a little bit unhappy, but not terribly unhappy. And so with that, I would encourage you to vote green vote on AM 1558 and ultimately for LB 644, or 646 as amended with 1558. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Ibaugh, you're recognized to speak.
Thank you. Good evening, colleagues, and thank you, Mr. President. And thank you, Senator Jacobson. This has been a journey, but I feel like we've made some progress. And as you stated, not everybody's going to be happy with it, but it does move the needle. I rise in support of AM 1558, and since LB 464 was introduced to committee and heard by the Ag Committee, it's gone through many iterations, as Senator Storer indicated, in an effort to include all the stakeholders and their wish lists, because there were many. I want to thank the governor and his team for hosting a very productive meeting that brought Senators DeKay, Senator Hansen, Senator Jacobson, Senator Storer, and myself together with stakeholders from the cow-calf and the feedlot industries, the Brand Committee, the Nebraska Cattlemen, the Nebraska Farm Bureau. And as one member stated as we were at the round table, they said, I don't know a time when all segments of the cattle industry have been seated in a room where they could talk about the challenges and how we can reach solutions. I believe it was the first of more conversations, as Senator Jacobson indicated, to come. The cattle industry in Nebraska is very diverse, and when we talk about the different segments, we talk about how diverse it is, and as a cow-calf producer myself, I understand that level very well, but I've learned a lot about the feedlot industry, the livestock market industry, and of course the Brand Committee. The segments have changed in their practices and their approaches to modernization over the years, and this amendment that Senator Jacobson has introduced represents a compromise based upon months of back and forth discussions. It's scaled down version, and now it has the support of those partners, Nebraska Cattlemen, the beef producers, the Dairy Association, and the Nebraska Farm Bureau. As Senator Jacobson indicated, this amendment does three things, which he outlined, and we were all agreed that those were all things that needed to happen. Gives feedlots still some skin in the game, which seemed to be an issue, and the fee that they will be paying better represents that cost. While I believe most stakeholders agree that further work on the underlying program is needed, identifying those reforms will require more time. I'm confident that AM 1558 is a good first step. It begins to move the needle to create a more equitable program while allowing stakeholders the time to work on additional reforms that we can achieve and that we can agree on. With that, I would like to again offer my appreciation to the governor and to the senators DeKay, Hansen, Jacobson, and Storer, and the many others that have supported us along the way. Your words of encouragement have meant a lot, and your input into a compromise has been very meaningful. This is an example of how compromise and considerate approach to solutions really does garner progress. In closing, I had a conversation early in the session with one of the doctors of the day. He was from Pender, and we talked about mostly the omnibus bill, but amongst other things, we were talking about compromise, and he made the comment, don't sacrifice good for perfect. So I wrote that down, and it sits here on my desk. And I have to agree that, is this bill perfect? No, it is not. Not for any of us, really. But is it a good bill? Yes, it is. And that's a good step forward. It protects the integrity, and it helps us move the industry forward. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. Clerk, for an amendment.
Mr. President, Senator Storer would move to amend AM 1558 with Floor Amendment 270.
Senator Storer, you're recognized to open.
Thank you, Mr. President. And this has been a little bit last minute, but in response to just a couple things that the Brand Committee caught, they had asked for at one point that they be able to change the requirement for mileage back to what was once a surcharge, and so this is doing that and cleaning up some language that bill drafters changed that wasn't really requested. It doesn't fundamentally change much, just cleans that up. But again, this is in response to a request from the Brand Committee. I spoke with them quite a bit today with the executive director. And so this is primarily asking for them to move back to a surcharge rather than mileage, which was something that was tried and is not working well. So with that, I ask for your green vote on FA 270.
Returning to the queue, Senator Hansen, you're recognized to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Before I get started, I do want to, and I asked Senator Storm about this beforehand, I do got to give a shout out to my hometown of Schuyler, Nebraska. The Schuyler Warriors, for the first time in school history, won the state soccer Class B championship. So I got to give a congratulations to them. I know Senator Storm might recognize them also later, but it's my hometown, and whenever we win a state championship, I kind of feel prideful, so I'm happy for those young men. They did a really good job. So anyway, back to branding, which is more exciting. So I appreciate the willingness of the interested parties to come together with an amendment and come together with an agreement, whether for good or for bad from each side. It's nice to see the ball kind of getting moved somewhat forward. But colleagues, I have been involved in the Ag Committee every year I've been here. I've seen many branding bills come and go. I've been involved in many, if not all, of the discussions for some reason when it comes to branding. Been included in many get-togethers and discussions, and those who are in the branding committee and our area of the state and who aren't. So I think purely from a 30,000 square foot view of me being someone who doesn't have a lot of skin in the game because I'm not in the branding area, but coming from maybe a non-emotional approach to maybe what the branding committee is, and maybe with my business background, I always like to look at the branding committee holistically from more of a business-minded perspective. If, in my opinion, the branding committee currently, if it was an independent private business, would have went bankrupt years ago. They would have went in for a loan to the bank. They wouldn't have given it to them. In my opinion, the brand, and this is just purely from my experience that I've had over the years, really needs to have a huge magnifying glass be put on it and look at doing something completely different. I think the Kansas model, when I've looked at many models of different states, how they've worked, how they've run, what would best be incorporated in how our state does things, the Kansas model, in my opinion, is probably one of the best models I've seen. The way that you do put some of the onus on the citizens, on local law enforcement, but also code agency, getting the state involved. It seems like a good collaboration and it works well there. Not saying that exact model would work great in Nebraska, but something like it I think wouldn't hurt to maybe look at. Next year might be a good time to do that. So again, just whether people maybe understand the business area or business mind of how these committees work, because sometimes when we're entrenched in them or we are involved in them personally, we might look at them a different way. From a traditional standpoint, from a financial standpoint personally, from what others are doing, and some others are paying more and some others are paying less. I have the privilege of looking at this from a different angle and also being involved in all the discussions. So like I said, I'm glad to see that the interested parties, Senator Ibaugh and Senator Storer and Senator Jacobson, kind of come together and have done something here. If we're talking long-term, I think we really need to kind of look and see how we can do this. I wouldn't say necessarily better, but maybe just differently. I don't want to leave that out there, so I'm hoping that's something we can kind of look at between now and next year, have open discussions, and kind of not be afraid of change. I know sometimes that's difficult for our state, but this is one area I think that we need to feel a little bit more comfortable about change. So, with that, thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Kay, you're recognized to speak.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a little history on the tracking of this bill. I would characterize it as looking at a heart monitor during a heart attack. There were several times there was a lot of ups and downs with this bill. Several times we thought this bill might be dead, been resurrected a few times over the course of all the amendments filed. But with that, every time there was very productive conversations within the parties interested in this, from the cow-calf producers to the feedlot operators and everybody in between. So with that, with the collaboration that we had at the governor's, at the roundtable discussion, it was very productive that night. It was the first time that I've been involved in it where everybody put aside what their personal thoughts were and looked at the whole picture to see where we need to go. Number one, to protect brand, to keep it viable in the future, and to give every interested party a chance to be a survivor in this and be productive and benefit from this. So with that, I would like to also thank Senator Jacobson, Senator Ibaugh, Senator Storer, Senator Hansen for being a part of those talks, being engaged, and to everybody that was at the table through this whole process from beginning till now that got us to where we are. And then we will be dropping an LR tomorrow for an interim study to see where we need to go from here over the course of the summer and bring back more benefits to the Brand Commission and to the livestock producers from cow-calf to the feedlots going forward. So thank you. I yield back the rest of my time.
Senator Ibaugh, you're recognized to speak.
Thank you very much. I think there was some confusion. I didn't expect a floor minute to cover it. What Senator Storer is talking about is a conversation that we had with the Brand Committee on a couple different occasions. They're struggling with how to charge mileage. For instance, if you go from one operation to another one, do you charge, how do you charge that mileage? I think what their goal is with this amendment is to have a flat fee as they used to have for every visit that they make. So if they make 3 or 4 visits per day, they would charge each producer or each location that $20 surcharge so that they did not have to keep track of the mileage. I'm fine with that if we want to cap it at $20. I think that was our discussion. So thank you very much, Mr. President.
Seeing no one left in the queue, Senator Storer, you're recognized to close on your floor Amendment 270.
The only comment I would have is we will probably just amend the floor amendment. Is that the best way to do it? With the $20. We just want to make sure there's a $20 cap in it. So there will be an amendment, one additional floor amendment. I think we have addressed, again, the concerns. I've been very diligent that Brand Committee looks over all of the amendments, bless their hearts. They've been busy, but have been in communication today as much as we can on very short notice, and have made a distinct attempt to address any concerns that they did have. Again, appreciate the work with Senator Jacobson, and I do feel like we have accomplished the goal, which was non-negotiable to me, which is the integrity of the inspection system. So again, with that, I ask for your green vote on FA 270.
Senator Jacobson, you're recognized to speak.
Thank you, Mr. President. So as Senator Ibaugh said, we're introducing a floor amendment just to do that quick little cleanup on FA 270 to put a cap of $20. No, it's being filed now. So I would ask that you, it won't have a number yet, but I ask you to support both floor amendments and AM 1558 and ultimately LB 646. This has taken longer than, much shorter length of time than I thought this morning, but much shorter than I thought it would take for tonight. So let's hang in here with us for a few more minutes, and we hopefully can move to a vote. With that, I would also just say, as the floor amendment gets put up, there's a lot of moving parts in this, and I will tell you that when you look across the state and the interests that are out there, Senator Stohr's district and my district probably have well over 50% of the cow-calf producers in the state. It's a lot of cows, it's a lot of calves. It's a big, expansive area. So brand is a mandatory thing for them. They wouldn't raise cattle out there without branding. It's easy for them to see the value of the brand committee and branding. As you move further east, you don't see the concentration. And when you look at the feed yards that are in the brand inspection area, they do have those cattle rounded up, and so that's part of why we do see some need for a differentiation in fee. At the end of the day, however, understand we went back to the base statutes, made these minor changes from the base statutes, so there are no other moving parts. And I want to reassure cow-calf producers that there's also an opportunity that's not being used right now by the brand committee to increase the brand fee, and they could actually double that fee or actually do even more than that. And that is a tool in their toolbox that they can use to smooth out any changes in expenses. I also believe that the brand committee is in a position, and I hope that they will use this opportunity to start looking at the efficiencies of what they're doing and try to figure out how to downsize their budgets so we can actually see all fees going down for everyone. But we think this strikes the right balance, and with that, I'm guessing that this clerk has the committee, the floor amendment, so he's not yet. He's still working on the floor amendment. All right. So we'll keep talking for a little bit. Again, there was a lot of time that went in, and particularly this time really started with the amount of time that Senator Ibaugh put into this and the travel and the number of people she's talked to. I want to thank the governor for frankly staying in a position to bring the parties together but not take any sides. The governor understands how important cattle production is to the state, how important the feed yards are, how important the cow-calf producers are. And so he felt that this needed to get worked out without him in the middle of it. But if he can help bring the parties together to negotiate, that's what he would do. That's really what he did. And I appreciate those efforts by the governor to do just that. But again, Senator Ibaugh has taken a lot of scrutiny over this, but her intentions were always genuine to really move the industry forward. Senator Stohr, looking at her constituency, knew that we could not allow the brand to be compromised in any way, and that's always been a piece of this as well. So with that, I'm running out of time, so I will stop, Mr. President, and hopefully the floor amendment's up. Thank you.
Senator Kauth, you're recognized to speak.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I realize we are waiting for the floor amendment, so as soon as it gets up, I will be happy to relinquish my time. Until that point in time, I'd like to talk a little bit about how the east side of Nebraska does things. We don't have brand committee, or we don't participate in this. So it's been quite the learning experience, and I appreciate Senator Ibaugh and Jacobson and Senator Tanya Stohr for explaining how this process works and why it's important. It's been very, very interesting hearing all about it, talking to the people out west, and being on the Ag Committee for the first time this year. It was a fascinating hearing. Things are very, very different on the west side of the state, which is really cool to see how it all works. So again, Teresa Ibaugh did a fantastic job of working this bill. I've never seen anyone put so much effort into working a bill on the floor. She has been talking to people for months and months and months, and I know she appreciates Senator Stohr and Senator Jacobson and everyone else who helps her with this bill. As well as her amazing aide who has been just pulling his hair out with trying to get every piece of this right. Senator Ibaugh has done the hard work of talking to as many of the interested parties as possible, getting people together, calling them to meetings, calling them together to dinners to sit and talk and hash through all the details. So I think the bill that you're going to see has the absolute best of all possible worlds in this bill. It's been detailed many, many times. It's much different than it was when it started, because when Senator Iba introduced this in January, we went over it and it was much more expansive. So kind of with every step, she's modified it, listened to people, made corrections and adjustments to try to get as many people on board as possible. So how are we doing up there? They're still going. I think we're getting close. We're good? Okay. Then, Mr. President, I yield my time.
Senator Storr, you are, seeing no one in the queue, you are recognized to close on FA 270.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have learned a little bit about process here. So what we're doing is combining by adding the $20 rather than having two floor amendments. We've combined them into one. So I asked to withdraw FA 270, and I believe Senator Iba will be introducing a floor amendment that will include it all.
So ordered. Mr. Clerk.
Mr. President, Senator Iba would move to amend with FA 271.
Senator Iba, you're recognized to open.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Sorry, folks, this is taking longer than we anticipated. Because this was technically an unfriendly amendment, I did not agree to the mileage or the surcharge. I didn't think that that was in the agreement that we had come to, but I understand where Senator Storr is coming from with it. We'll discuss it between now and final and come to some other conclusion maybe, but I appreciate everyone's vote for FA 271. Thank you, Mr. President.
Seeing no one in the queue, you're recognized to close. Senator Iba waves close. Question before the body is the adoption of Floor Amendment 271. All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Mr. Clerk, please record.
36 ayes, no nays on adoption of the amendment, Mr. President.
The floor amendment is adopted. Seeing no one in the queue, Senator Jacobson, you're recognized to close on AM 1558.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to quickly say, making three changes. We're allowing the brand committee to go charge a maximum fee of from $1.10 to $1.50, so they can go up to $1.50. They currently charge $1 a head. We're also going to exempt any cattle shipped from qualified dairies. And third, we're going to change the annual fee that for registered feedlots from $1 to 50 cents a head, one-time capacity paid annually. Those are the three changes, plus this minor change that's in Senator Iba's amendment. With that, thank you, Mr. President. I urge everyone to vote green.
Colleagues, question before the body is the adoption of AM 1558. All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. Mr. Clerk, please record.
37 ayes, no nays on adoption of the amendment, Mr. President.
The amendment is adopted.
I have nothing further on the bill. Senator.
Senator Greca for a motion.
Mr. President, I move that LB 646 be advanced to ENR for engrossing.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. It is advanced. Mr. Clerk for items.
Mr. President, amendment to be printed from Senator Dover to LB 306. Additionally, priority motion, Senator Roundtree would move to adjourn the body until Thursday, May 22nd at 9:00 a.m.
We've heard the motion to adjourn. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. We are adjourned.